Well, let's talk to Vicky Price, the distinguished international economist. Vicky, welcome back. Good to see you. So the UK economy is stagnating pretty much in July. More bad news for the UK government. Which sectors in particular are driving down or driving up UK GDP growth?
But driving down is manufacturing, I'm afraid. It's been falling for a little while now, and we had seen a bit of a recovery in the first quarter and the second quarter up to a point for some sectors. So, and what we then saw is that there was quite a slowdown that happened afterwards. And what we've seen on the monthly data is, if you ask actual producers, we've had a decline for the last 11 months, but nevertheless on the official data, we seem to have had some increase happening. And the reason for that increase earlier on, which now has gone into reverse, was because of the tariffs in the US. So what manufacturers did, they invested quite a bit and they produced quite a lot and then sold it to the US before the tariffs came into effect. So that wasn't only the UK, lots of other countries did the same. So you saw that in Europe too. So exports to the US went up significantly. And then, of course, once tariffs became effective, they slowed down quite considerably as well. So what you've seen, though, in terms of growth in the UK is while manufacturing has been dropping, services have been recovering, not as fast as you'd like to see them, and that's why GDP is not really doing an awful lot, but certainly recovering, and construction up and down. So those are the sectors, basically, if you were to summarise what's going on.
If you were Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who's had a rather tricky few days, are you assuming things will only get better over the coming weeks?
Well, it's been a pretty tumultuous sort of political week or two that we have seen in the UK. So, yes, I think it's probably keeping fingers crossed that something good will come on the economy. Unfortunately, this data isn't necessarily helping. And we are, of course, in process of worrying about the budget, which is coming up at the end of November, or in late November. And that budget is worrying companies because, of course, they've had already to shoulder quite a big increase in taxation, and it's worrying also consumers because even though there was a promise not to increase income tax, national insurance contributions or VAT, which is the sales tax here, it is likely that a number of the allowances will be frozen for longer, which means that many more people will pay tax for the first time over the next few years or even pay the higher rate. So there is concern about what is going to happen to the consumer, whether they will be prepared to carry on spending, and also investment from businesses. If it doesn't happen and growth remains in the forecast low for the next few years, then it adds to the pressure on the fiscal front. So, and that's a concern that I think Keir Starmer will have right now, and his Chancellor.
Here's another concern. Let's talk about France. The focus remains on France's credit rating review. Just how much economic trouble and, frankly, political trouble is France now in?
Well, we're going to hear later on today, I think, whether Fitch has downgraded France, given everything that's been going on. I mean, they've lost government yet again. Well, we now have a new Prime Minister. And the chances of them being able to pass a budget is obviously not very great. They are trying to do so. They've tried numerous occasions to have the budget agreed by a government which is very, very divided right now. If you look, sorry, not necessarily the government, a combined parliament, which is very divided right now. So the government can actually get their proposals through. So you have extremes on the right and extremes on the left that don't like what is being presented to them, and the chances are, therefore, that any credit agency that is looking at France right now will assume that the deficit will stay as high as it has been for a while now, way above what it should be. So instead of being 3%, which is what is required within the Eurozone requirements, it's going to be 5 or perhaps 5.5% and stay there because you can't actually introduce any measures that will reduce it. Is that disastrous for France? I don't know. It's still going to grow probably by just under 1% this year and next, so not horrendous, and actually it's not very different to what's happening in Italy. Or even sort of the slowdown we're beginning to see in other places like even Spain, which has done so well until now.
Vicky, good to see you. Thank you very much for coming on the programme. Vicky Price, the international economist.